is present. Sorry. Jennifer is present, the mother. She's holding the picture of her son when he was in 12th grade. This is his graduation photo here. And we have a sister who's also present, Jessica. So let me start off by saying they have retained my office, LaToyson Law, to represent them in this matter. We think it's very important with the news conferences that took place today. There was a message that came out by the state police, came out by the district attorney's office and the chief of police from Philadelphia. And this message that's currently coming out right now is not telling the full story of who Anthony Allegrini is. What is facts here, or the fact that plenty of people have been coming by this house to show their support for this kid. And he is a kid, 18 years old, and he's no longer with us. He's someone who's never been in trouble before. He is somebody that graduated high school last year, was currently working 3 jobs. He had worked hard to save up enough money to purchase that car, which was his pride and joy. A consistent theme from his friends and family and people that know him have consistently talked about what a great kid that he was. He was a person that made friends easily. He was a person that affected all those around him. And what is important is that, you know, when you're hearing the themes that are coming out and being reported, what's being talked about are things that he had nothing to do with. This was not somebody that was involved with doing donuts in the middle of Philadelphia. He was not involved with blocking 95. He was a spectator in this event. And I think it needs to be clear, when you hear the state police and you hear district attorney's office or Philadelphia PD talking about the four-wheelers, the dirt bikes, and all the different things that are taking place, this has nothing to do with their son. We have a grieving family here who's lost their son. He was due to take his steam fitters test a week from now. He had plans, he had big plans, and he had a full life ahead of him. And the issue that we're having right now is the story is not being told in reference to who this person is. No one has had something bad to say about this kid. They've all talked about what a great kid he is. He went by Little A because we have Big A, the dad, or Ant was other nicknames, or Curly. And you can see, you know, Mom holds this picture with the curls that he had. His was a good kid, never been in trouble before. He comes from a good family that respects authority and respects the police. Some of the issues that we have with this incident so far is the fact that, you know, the parents here at 5 o'clock in the morning, tracking their son through an app, went to the scene and were there at the scene. They were not allowed to see their son as their son lay dead on the side of the road. They were not given answers to questions as they were there at the scene as grieving parents wanting to know, was that their son that was laying underneath that tarp? They were told, we can't answer questions for you. You go to the police station, those questions will be answered for you later. They waited up to 3 hours. Imagine the agony they went through waiting up to 3 hours to find out whether or not that's your child that has been passed. All they were told was there was a shooter and the shooter was in custody. This was the initial information that was given to them. They were not told this was a police shooting from day one. That, folks, is something that should have never happened. Secondly, when you look at the video and you see that there was no attempt for medical aid when this child laid on the side of the road. And that is something that needs to be looked into. There needs to be transparency. There needs to be a full investigation. And it needs to be made clear that this law firm and this family will not rest until that is done. We know that the district attorney's office has already said they're looking for the truth. You can believe this family is looking for the truth, and they expect to have the truth. We expect the state police to release all videos and all evidence through this investigation, through us, their representatives, to make sure there's an independent look at what takes place in this case. This is not something that this family or this law firm will take lightly based on the facts of everything that's taken place here. We have grieving parents. We have a situation where you have somebody that was not involved with all that mayhem. And let me say this for the record. anybody that's lived in Philadelphia or been around this area, like you folks have, like we have, we all know about the races. And we know what happens when the police show up at the races. What happens is everyone takes off and gets away and either tries to go somewhere else to race. You don't hear situations where, the racers are trying to, run down police officers or hurt them or harm them. And any police officer or anybody that's responding to that should have a general knowledge of exactly what takes place when they show up, especially when you're dealing with someone that wasn't a racer. You're dealing with somebody that was not making burnouts or blocking up 95. He was simply a spectator. And as these races go, there are plenty and thousands of spectators. That's for another day, for another rule or a rule of law to deal with that. But the reality is, you're talking about a spectator who was leaving, who's always been respectful to the police, respectful to authority, and was on his way out, and now he's dead. So we want to just make it clear that we're expecting a full, transparent investigation. As District Attorney Krasner has said, we're looking for the truth. This was a good kid with a good future ahead of him, who has a great reputation amongst his peers, his adults, his friends, his family, and his community. And not one person has a negative thing to say about him. I will let you guys know that there will be a funeral this Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. What is the?
Pagano.
Huh?
Pagano
At Pagano Funeral Home, which is on Falk Road in Garden Valley, from 4 to 7. Family's not going to answer any questions. We talked about this beforehand. They want me to speak for them. If you have questions, I'll take those questions.
Are you saying that Anthony was wrongfully shot?
Say it again?
Was Anthony wrongfully shot? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is this. This family respects authority. This is a good family who's raised their kid to respect authority, respect the police, and that a full, transparent investigation that shows the truth is what they're expecting. They're not the kind of family that says, my kid did something wrong, then he didn't do it. That's not the kind of family we're dealing with here. But they want to make sure there's accountability on all sides here. And I go back to talking about the initial contact that they have. It doesn't take much for someone to say, yes, that's your son. You imagine standing on 95, 5 o'clock in the morning, wondering, you see your son's car, and wondering whether or not that's your son underneath the tarp? Not too hard to say, yes, it is. Not too hard to not misinform the family by telling them the shooter's in custody. This family, up until 3 or 4 hours after that initial contact, thought their son might have been carjacked or something, or something of the sort, only to find out this was a police shooting. So at this point, our position is, we don't know what happened. What we know is the custom of what takes place at these types of events. We're talking about the information that's come out so far is minor injuries. What does that even mean? These are the things that we must know and have answers to. And this is not going to be something that's just going to go away, that the truth is not going to come out, and the full investigation is not going to be done. We're not going to be okay with that. We do know that District Attorney Krasner has a reputation of doing a thorough investigation when these things come down. However, we want to make sure we're a part of that it's transparent, and we have access to all those videos and everything that they're reviewing so we can do our own independent look at it.
Let me ask this another way. So you talked about Anthony and his respect for authority. Police say he drove his car into them. So what police are saying, their account, I would imagine, does not match up to the person that Anthony is?
Absolutely. The reputation that Anthony has is one to respect authority. He is a person that was respectful to his elders, respectful to his community, and to his teachers. The family has been reached out to all people, from friends to neighbors to people in authority, who have all said, this doesn't sound like that guy. This is not the guy that we know. And what I'll say is that we all know what happens at these races. I'm not saying that, I'm not making an excuse, and the family's not making an excuse for those races or whoever was blocking 95 up. But, when you watch what happens on TV, Fast and the Furious movies and everything, as soon as the cops come, everybody runs. And that's part of the fun to those kids. Getting away, running to the next place. Not, I'm here to commit aggravated assault or homicide or attempted homicide upon an officer. You have to wonder, it makes you wonder what experience did these individual officers that responded to this, what experience did they have with this type of thing? This was not Philadelphia PD. Philadelphia PD is chasing the four-wheelers, the motorbikes, the races all over the city. They put the lights on, everyone just goes from one place to another place, and eventually they just get tired, and everyone just goes home for the night. It's a little, at this point, we reserve the right to just say, we want to make sure all the information and facts come out, and that this is being watched. That news conference that took place earlier today, these guys were missing. We weren't there. I know District Attorney Krasner said they're looking into it. I know the state police says they're doing their investigation. I know Philadelphia PD had what they needed to say. But it's important that we know that this family is here and that this family is not okay with this and that this is not consistent with the kid that they've raised and that, we expect the full, as D.A. Krasner said it, the truth to come out.
So just to kind of recap, you mentioned that he was there as a spectator, not as a participant. So as a family attorney, are you saying that there's some kind of excessive force that was used on this young man?
What I'm saying to you is that when this story is being told, and this is nothing to you guys as the media. I'm saying this is coming out of the the state police when they had their conference today, different stuff. You're talking about stuff that have nothing to do with this guy. When you're talking about a 18-year-old kid who's been killed in a police shooting, let's talk about the facts of what he was involved with. I don't really care to hear about some shooting that took place a block away, or some donuts that were being done, or some other kind of damage that was being done. That's disrespectful to this family. That's disrespectful to what took place here. We need to concentrate on what took place here. So to answer your question, we need to see that investigation. We need to see those videos. We need to see those dash cams. We need to see all of that stuff. We want to be a part of that process, and we expect to be a part of that process.
I think all of us, especially, I don't mean to speak for everybody, but we want to focus on your son and what happened. As family attorney, are you able to kind of let us in a little bit more in terms of why he was in the area? Was it for the purpose of being a spectator? Like, what was the draw for him to be there?
So, when you're 18 years old, and, you have access to all these apps, and you have a cool car that you worked hard to get on your own, and you're 18 years old, you have a brand new 2019 Audi. He knew about these meetups and these get-ups, and that's how all these kids get together. That's how I think there was 500 four-wheelers on the road, I guess, this past weekend, or going into Montgomery County, I saw. And that's all that was. There's these apps. I know the police are actually on these apps too. There's these apps that tell all the kids, hey, we're having a meetup, we're getting together. Doesn't necessarily mean the meetup is supposed to be go on 95 and block the highway up. But it's definitely, you have a group of people that get together, and you have to think to yourself, the way I look at it, there was hundreds and hundreds of cars there. So why is it that if none of them were trying to run down police officers or do any of this stuff, why is it that this individual apparently was acting out of the norm to do something in a way that would result in him being killed?
There were reports there were 2 other people in the car at the time. Have you spoken to them? Can you tell us, where were they sitting? All that.
So they were held in custody up to 5 hours.
7.5 hours.
7.5 hours that night, or that morning, I should say. And once they left, they immediately came here and to let the family know what happened, and a video statement was taken from them to preserve their memory. I, at this point, have not spoken with them. But that will be part of the investigation in the process of basically making sure there's a full investigation to make sure that the story that was most in their mind that they had given the police, they came here and gave it to the family.
There were some early conflicting reports that Ant may have either been in the car or not been in the car. Did those 2 witnesses speak to any of that?
We don't have any comment on that right now. I will also mention this, and I'm glad you brought that up. we want to know what the policy is when you have a person who's been shot and he's sitting on the side of the road dying. No aid was rendered to Anthony, and he sat there with his last moments, not being helped in any way, and that, as you can see, is just something that is just it's gut wrenching to think anybody have a loved one who's passing on and no one is helping them. He wasn't rushed anywhere. He was there until he passed, and that's also something that we want to look into. Is there a policy? Is there a policy that you're not allowed to transport? I know Philadelphia PD scoops up and routinely takes people that have been shot. So why not this kid? I mean, like I say, when you take that and you put it with the fact that the family's hearing the shooters in custody, and you're hearing we can't tell you that's your son. It starts things off on a very bad foot.
To clarify, was he a 2022 or 2023 graduate of Interborough?
He is a 2022 graduate of Interborough.
Okay.
Yes. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone have a good.
Can we just get a picture of
Yeah, if you guys, this is his hockey. This is Mom's graduation
His
present.
senior year, they won the championship.
These are all they won the championship that year. You have all the flowers and stuff families dropped off. There's probably a good 30 other people that are here for his support. They're just in the other room.
Excuse me, Mom, can we have Mom leave the picture of him by himself?
In the picture.
Thank you.
Yes,
Here?
there's.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yep, that's perfect.
That's deep. That's on his day. Yes. I need
What's that?
aspirations.
Yeah, let's move the mic stands, guys. That's good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's walking you, right?
Here. There we go.